How's it going, my friends? Jeff Grana with GPS Realty here with another shot of honest guidance. Thought I'd do something special today in honor of Martin Luther King Day. I want to talk real quick about a couple of ways that minorities in this country are underrepresented in the real estate market in an attempt to illustrate what it is that they're missing out on and why it's so harmful. All of this is factual information. I'm a basic white dude, and I am not here to reappropriate Martin Luther King Day for any purpose that serves me. My goal is education only. Today we're going to talk about three things. One is how discrimination still happens in the real estate market. Two, the effect of missing out on real estate options during your life. And three, missing out on real estate options during your kids' lives. According to the National Association of Realtors, they created this report called A Snapshot of Race and Home Buying in America. While national home ownership among white people has jumped to roughly 71% since 2008, African Americans, specifically as a demographic, are stuck at 41%. Hispanic Americans are right around 45%. Asian Americans are right around 53%. Right? So in 2018, African Americans' home ownership varied by state from between 8 and 54%, depending on what state they lived in. And you can take a look at that again. You could Google NAR, a snapshot of race and home buying in America. It's a report that they created. It's free PDF. It's not something special that I have as a realtor. So in 2018, African Americans' home ownership rate was between 8 and 54%. From 2008 to 2018, their home ownership dropped in all but 3 states: Delaware, South Dakota, and Vermont. So that was probably as a result of the downturn. So first, how does discrimination happen in real estate? Well, back in the day, minorities suffered from 3 distinct tactics that were used to keep them out, so to speak. One was steering, where realtors would steer their clients to a specific neighborhood or away from a specific neighborhood. The second one is redlining, where lenders refused to give loans to minorities who lived or wanted to buy in certain neighborhoods. They would literally draw red lines around the neighborhoods on the map. And the third one is blockbusting, where realtors would induce people to sell their homes by stirring up fear that a certain demographic of people was going to move into the neighborhood, thus dropping their home values. So everybody would rush to sell as soon as possible. All of these practices are completely illegal now, thanks to the Fair Housing Act of 1968, but they're still happening. Redfin was accused in 2020 of redlining. There's a lawsuit ongoing about that. Redfin is not a lender, but Redfin does provide brokerage services, and Redfin has been accused of redlining by putting a minimum home value on the houses that they're willing to provide brokerage services to. And in 2019, the Department of Justice settled a redlining lawsuit against Indiana's First Merchants Bank for redlining, like for literally the thing that was supposed to be made illegal in 1968. Number 2, what are the implications for missing out on owning real estate during your life? Well, there are several, as you probably have seen plenty of other realtors talk about. First of all, as you own a property for longer and longer, you begin to have equity in that property and you can borrow against it. It's an asset and you can use it in various different ways to grow your wealth, or you can use it as a safety. Some people will pull out money to fund their kids' college, or if they come on hard times, they can refinance the house and take out a loan against that. Not advisable necessarily, but it is there. Another big thing is tax implications for owning the property. All right, so as it is right now, the way the tax code is written, you get to write off the interest on your mortgage. And what that turns out to be, especially in the first few years that you own the house, that almost gives you 25% of your payment back. So if you are paying a $2,000 a month PITI payment, when the time comes to write off the interest on your mortgage, it'll be as if throughout the end of the year, it'll be as if that you only had a $1,500 PITI payment. The other next thing is for investment purposes. The way the tax code written, you can do this thing called a 1031 exchange. And basically what that is, you can sell a property that you would have paid capital gains on. And if you take all of the profit from that property and use it to fund a loan for a bigger property, you don't have to pay capital gains on that because you reinvested it. So that's a benefit. So there's all kinds of implications for your life while you own a place. Gives you options, etc. But what are the implications for your kids if you have to miss out on this during your life? Well, there's a couple of them. What's the biggest one? How does wealth grow and transfer from one generation to the next? Answer is inheritance. When you inherit a house, you inherit it at the fair market value that it was at when your parents passed away. So what does that mean? So the way the tax code is written, you don't have to pay capital gains tax on the proceeds from the sale of your house until you reach a certain threshold. And that threshold is $250,000 for single people and $500,000 for married people. So let's take me and my wife, for example. What that means is if we bought a house for $300,000 and we sold it for $300,000 plus $500,000, so $800,000, we would make $500,000 on the sale of the house, and we don't have to pay capital gains. If we sold it for $501,000, then we would have to pay the capital gains tax only on that extra $1. Okay, so it's everything above that window. The thing is that it doesn't work that way when you inherit a house. That rule doesn't apply. What happens when you inherit a house is the property does what's called a step to market value. And what that means is that if your parents bought the house at $50,000 and it's worth $1 million by the time you inherit it, you're not going to pay capital gains on the, whatever that delta is, because $1 million for you is that 0 point now, right? It's as if you bought the house for $1 million. You would have to sell the house for above $1.5 million before you would have to pay capital gains on it. Okay? Does that make sense? The other thing I want you to know about is that the federal estate tax, aka the death tax, thanks Republicans, is not owed unless your estate is valued at greater than $5.43 million. So you have to be passing more than $5 million down to your kid before you will be taxed on any of it. The point is that as real estate appreciates, it appreciates from generation to generation to generation, right? So your parents bought it at $50,000. You inherit it at $1 million. You live in it. Your family uses it. Let's say it's worth $2 million. Let's say it's worth $5 million. 2-3 generations later. That's the way that works. And that is a huge amount of money that future generations are losing out on if they don't have the opportunity to take advantage of it. All right, so key takeaways. First, discrimination against minorities in this country is still a thing. It's 2021, and discrimination is still a thing in real estate. So just be aware that that's the case. Second thing I want you to know is to do what you can to learn the tax code. It can either be a weapon or it can work in your favor. And the final thing I want you to understand is that as a result of everything that you do, generations beyond you, your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, will either benefit or not from the choices that you make while you're here. So let me know what I can do to help you learn what I know. Please reach out across any of my social media channels. My cell phone number is all over the place. Have a great week.